Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night from when you're watching this video. This is John from IT Skills Academy with yet another video. Today, I present to you yet another pharmacy management system. I'll take you through how I created this simple pharmacy management system using PHP and MySQLi. To make it simple, I'll break it into several episodes as follows. In the first episode, I'll basically be introducing you to the system and also show you the basic dashboard that we'll be using for the system. In the second episode, we are going to set up the database. Then in the third episode, we'll be creating the dashboard now. And in the fourth episode, we'll be adding the patients. Fifth, we'll be adding or managing the patients and other. In the sixth episode, we'll be adding and managing suppliers. And then in the sixth and in the seventh episode, we'll be dealing with drugs, that is entering or adding the drugs into the system, and also managing the drugs in terms of editing, in terms of deleting the drugs. We'll also be dealing with the expired drugs in the 8th episode, and in the last but not the least episode number 9, we'll be dealing with the billing system, that is where we'll be managing the transactions and what have you. So hope this is interesting, and without so much ado, let's just get started. Welcome to episode 5.1 of how to create a pharmacy management system. In our previous episode, episode 5, we wrote the script that will help us to add the supplier details into our system. And so in episode 5.1, what we'll be doing is managing the suppliers, that is in terms of activating and deactivating the suppliers, deleting the suppliers, and also updating the suppliers details. So as you can see, we have a lot to cover. So without so much ado, let's get this started. So how we are going to start this episode is by first of all styling the status, that is the active and inactive. So we want to just add a background in between the active and the inactive, so that when it is active we have a green background, and when it is inactive we have a red background. So let me just do that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the echo here, and because I'm going to add some HTML, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all close the PHP like that. And when I do that, you see it creates a problem because now I've closed the PHP in between another in between PHP script, and because that is not acceptable, I'm going to have this as an issue. And so to be able to fix that issue, I'm going to again have another PHP opening tag, and that will now mean that I have this PHP opened and closed here, and I have this PHP opened and now closed down here. And so now it therefore means that within this PHP, within this opening PHP and this, I can be able to add some HTML tag inside that. And so the PHP tag that I'm going to have, the HTML tag that I'm going to have rather, is the span. So I'm just going to talk about span, and then within this span now I'm going to have the status, that is the active, like that. And now because I have this HTML tag, it therefore means that I can be able to add some tailwind classes to it. So I'm just going to talk about class, and I'm going to add a BG background here, which will be a gradient background. So I'm going to talk about BG gradient, and it will be starting from top left, and the first color will be green 500, and the second color will be again let me just talk of rhyme, maybe rhyme still 500. Yes, and I'm also going to add a padding top and bottom, so px of 2.5, and I also want the text to be small, so I'm going to talk about text small. I wanted to have some rounded corners, so I'm going to talk about rounded 1.8, and also padding right and left, I'm going to give it 1.4, and I want the text to be at the center, so I will talk about text center. The font should be bold so that it is clear to see, and also to add some emphasis, I will also talk about uppercase. Of course, we should make it to be in capital letters. Yes, and for the text color, because we have a green background, we can have the text in white, having the white color. So let's see what we have. So after refreshing, yes, we have it, but now the color, it's a bit not clear there. So let me see the issue that has to do with the color. So BG gradient from green 500. Okay, I don't to green. Okay, let me talk of green again, but now I reduce this to 300, and let's see. Yeah, so there you go. So you can see all the active suppliers will have this active, of course, as the status, but now we have it with that background that we have stated over there. Yes, so that being as it is, then we can be able to just grab that. So for example, I'll just come and grab all of this, I copy it, and I'm going to replace it with what we have here, the inactive. So everything will be the same except except this one, and let me see if I can be able to see the colors that I'm using here. Just a minute, if I can talk of orange. Okay. Just a minute as I put everything in order. I'm trying to see some of the colors. Yes, here. So let's just use this one as the color, or rather, yes, we can just use that one. So it's the same thing that I have written, but now just to make things easy, I'm just going to grab that, and I'm going to have it in our status, so that is here. So I'll grab the whole of this, the only one that has to do with color, so that is from here. I grab the whole of these, and I'm just going to have that, so it will just have a gradient color of red to yellow, and I can also come and grab the one for green. Yes, this one. Yes, should be lime 400. So we had applied that, but it never worked for us. So now we've confirmed that it should be rhyme 400. So 400, and this one is rhyme. Yes, so if we refresh, we should now be able to get something like that. So that looks nice. So you can have it with only one color if you like, but in this case we have it with a gradient color, which just makes it look nice. Having it in bold and uppercase makes it look a little bit overemphasized. So let me see if I get rid of the uppercase. Yeah, that's better. And also this one. So if I talk of a semi is a little bit better instead of, yeah, that's okay. So now that's what I wanted us to start with, just telling that we have that looking nice. So now the next thing we're going to work on is the actions. So we're going to start with the activating and deactivating. So I'll show you how I managed to create that, so that we just have a single button that is activating and deactivating the supplier. And before we get started with this, I would want to take you to the database here, because there's something that is very, very important that you need to understand. So in our database here, the suppliers, you can see we have the name, the location, and most importantly, in regards to what you're talking about right now, the status. So the status, if I can also show you the structure here, is one field that has a default value. As you can see here, it has a default value of 0. So if it is 0, I have it like the user will be, or the supplier will be active. But if it is 1, it therefore means that the user is inactive. And so what we'll be doing is changing this from 0 to 1, but instead of changing it here in the database manually, we'll be changing it from our system here by just by a click of a button. So when you just click that button, it changes the status from 0 to 1. Changes the status from 0 to 1. And once the status is changed from 0 to 1, it therefore means that the supply is inactive. Once you click again, the status is changed back to 0, and so the user will be active again. So that's basically what we'll be doing. And so we will just go to our table here, and if I go back to Visual Studio, we're going to add another TD here. So I'm going to add another column, so TD. And so now within this TD, it's where we are going to have this button that will be activating and deactivating. And because we'll be passing some information from one page to another, we'll be using a simple form that basically we are not going to see it in the table, but we're just going to have it somewhere in the background to help us with that. So I'm going to have a form. The form will have a method of post, and as of now, the form will not have any action, so we will not be going to any given page. The information that we'll need will be passed just within this page. But it will still have the method of post, and in between, within the form, we are going to have some two input fields. So one that will have the type of, okay, it will be text, but we'll have it hidden because we don't want to show that. And the reason as to why we want this is because we want to pass the current status of the supplier. We want to know the current status of the supplier, and so here I'm going to have a value, and within this value I'm going to echo the current status. So for me to be able to change the status to any other status, I need to first of all know the current status, and because passing this information from one place to another, I need to have a name, and this will be status. And because I'll also be updating individual suppliers one at a time, I need to uniquely identify them, and so I'm also going to have another input that will now help me to get the current ID of the supplier who is being updated. So I'm going to have a value, and here I'm going to have the PHP, and here I just need to echo the ID. So that's very, very important for the purpose of uniquely identifying the supplier who is being activated. So I'm going to again have name, and the name will be ID. So we're just going to have that as it is. We're just going to leave it just like that. And now below here, we are now going to have the buttons. So these are the buttons now that will be visible in our table. And so I'm going to have some PHP script here. And so the first thing that I need to do is to have the deactivate button and the activate button. So how I'm going to have this is the buttons will be appearing based on the current status of the supplier. So if the supplier is active, then the button will be deactivate. If the supplier is inactive, then the status or the button will be activate. So let me just show you that practically so that you get to understand. So I'm going to have an if statement. The condition will be status if the status is equal 0. So we use the double equals when we are comparing two things. We use one equals when we are assigning some value to a certain variable. So we're going to have status is equals 0, and here now the code will be the button that we need. And because we are within PHP and we want to write some HTML code, we need again to close the PHP tag and open it again like that. And now within these two, we can now have we can comfortably have our HTML, and this one will be the button. So if the status is equals 0, it therefore means that the supplier is active, as I mentioned earlier. But if the status is 1, it therefore means that the supplier is inactive. So if the status is equals 0, then we need to have the button of deactivate if the supplier is required to be deactivated. So I'll talk about deactivate. We can style this a little. So I'm going to talk about class, and one of the things that we're going to have is the background. So as usual, let me just come and grab this red one. We are going to also have it with a red background, and so I'm going to grab that, and that's the first class that I'm going to have. and then of course we are also going to have the text being white. And so let's see how that looks like so far, because we should have something going on. Yes, so we have it there, as you can see, deactivate, because now here it is active. So we can add a few classes just to fix this. I'm going to add a py that is padding and the padding top and bottom. So that one, maybe I can talk of 2 or maybe 1.4, and also px, that is padding right and left, and maybe still 1.4. I would have even said p, that is padding all outed of 1.14, but let's see how that works, and so we can see if yes, that works for the top and bottom, but we don't have it for the so let me maybe increase it to 2. Yes, so that's working. So therefore means that we can just say p, which means padding all rounded of 2. Yeah, and that works the same. We can also have it rounded a little bit, so maybe we can talk of rounded md if it works. Okay, so maybe instead of that we can talk of rounded 1.4 like we did with the previous button. Yeah, so that's fine. And now that we have it, I think it's too big. So text extra small. Yeah, because to me looks a bit big. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's looking fine. And so now we can have the same, but now this one will be if the status is not equal to 0. So I'm going to come down here and I'll talk of else. And so again I'm going to grab the whole of these from the PHP tag, and I'm going to have that as the code down here, sorry, as the code. And so that one will be deactivate, this one will be activate, and maybe we can have it in green, so we can have this as line. Yeah, so that one now should be working fine for us. Yeah, so we have the active, deactivate. Sorry, this one should change. This name should change to inactive. So we need to fix something there. So the color is okay, but something is up with the text here. So this one should be inactive. Yeah, so inactive, and so this one should be activate. So we have to come and change this to activate. So if we refresh that, yes, so now we have deactivate, because inactive activate, and this one is active deactivate, so it should be the other way around. So grabbing that and replacing it with that, and this one is deactivate. deactivate. And so let's refresh. Yeah, so inactive, activate, active, deactivate. Yeah, so if we now go back to the Visual Studio here, so what we are having is if the status is equals to 0, the user is active, so we can deactivate. Else, if the user is not anything to do with 0, it therefore means that they are inactive, and so what we need is to activate. Okay, so now that is working fine so far, but it's not yet working. We have it there, but when we click the button, nothing will happen. And so now what we need to do is we need now to have that button working for us. So I'm going to make this button work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it with a type of a submit. When it has the type of submit, therefore means that we can be able to pass some information by a click of the button. And so I'm also going to have this having the same, so type is equals submit. And so now because the reason as to why here we have it without anything is because the script that will be helping us to finish all these, update the status, is still in this page, or we are still going to have it in this specific page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll up here, and within this PHP you can see we've already started a session. The first thing that we need to do is to have the connection to the database. So I'm going to require our connection to the database, so that is the con.php. So I'm going to talk about includes and the con.php. So we are now guaranteed that we have the connection to the database. And so as usual, we are going to have our if statement to test whether the button has been clicked or not. And how we do that is using the it's set, and because we have the form that has the method of post, it therefore means that we can come and use the post. And so the button itself has the name of post, so sorry, not post but submit. So I'm testing whether a button that has a name of submit has been clicked. So if it has been clicked, maybe just to test, we can echo, you guessed it right, I was clicked. Clicked. So was clicked, and so therefore means that if I now refresh this, we should now start to see something. So if I click on that, I was expecting to see something, but not yet. I was expecting to see I was clicked, but nothing. Let me see. We just test it. Could be it's not showing that. Yeah, it's showing that as a very big problem. Okay. So maybe we are missing something. Let me see if we can come and have this having a name of equals submit. I should have this in bold, so grab it and have it there. Well, now we can refresh it. Yeah, that's working fine. You can see now I was clicked. That means the button is working fine, and so now I can get rid of that. So let me get up there, so we can just comment that out. And so now that is working, therefore means that we can be able to get the information. And remember, we have two inputs in our form. We have the ID and we have the status. So therefore means that we can be able to pass the information and store it in these variables. So what I usually do is I grab this. That's where I have the information. But in this case I don't need the submit, I need the ID, and I can duplicate this, and so here I don't need the ID, I need the status, and so I can grab that and replace it with that, and don't forget to add it with a semicolon, and we are done. So therefore means that this information that we collected, let me just show you here in a minute. This information that we corrected here in these two inputs, here, see we have the name, status, and ID. We can be able to, through the post method, we are able to pass it and have it stored in this variable, and so it therefore means that we can use it now to update the status of the user. So we're just going to do a little of a modification here. This is how I do it. So remember that as it starts now, the status is just reading active and inactive, but in the database I need to have the value as 0 or 1. So I need to modify this a little bit, so that instead of inserting the status in form of text, we insert it in form of a value. And so this is how I do it. I still use the if statement, and so I'm going to have the status as equal 0. If the status is equal 0, I'm going to have a variable. So I'm going to create a variable, and I'm going to call it new status is equals to 1. So else I'm going to have the new status be equal to 0. So here I'm doing sort of the opposite. So if the status is equal to 0, I'm changing it to 1. If it is equal to 1, I'm changing it to 0. So when it is 0, therefore means the user is active. When it is 1, therefore means the user is inactive. So because this one is active, we are deactivating. If it is equals to 1, therefore means they are inactive. We now need to change it to 0 to make them active. So hoping that is clear, I'm just going to have it back to 0, and that's all that I need, because it is these two values that I'll now be inserting into the database, because now I've changed the status to a new status, And so now this one is being stored here, else we have this one being stored here. So to be checking the status to know how it is to change it to either. Okay, so now that we have that working fine, I now need to insert that information into the database. So I'm going to create a SQL, a variable called SQL, of course, which is going to have the update statement. So that is update, and we are updating the suppliers, and we are setting that to be equal to so the status will be equal to the new status. So it's either this or this, depending on the current status of the supplier. So and we are not just updating any supplier, we are updating the supplier where the ID is the ID that we grabbed. So we will be grabbing the ID depending on the supplier who is clicked. So when you click the supplier, you'll be able to grab the supplier ID, and that ID will be stored here. And so when we are updating, we'll be updating only the supplier whose ID we collected as a result of you clicking that supplier. So I'm going to have ID is equals to ID, and that's it. So now that is updated, but we need to know whether it is updated or not. So we need to have the results stored in a variable. So variable results is equals to, so here we are going to use the MySQLI. So MySQLI query, which will, among other things, test the connection to the database and test whether this one worked, the updating of the supplier, which will be stored in this SQL. And so we are having that here. And so now after that, we're just going to have the usual text message. So I'm just going to make our work easier here, because we have a lot. I'm going to go to the include here, pull out this, and I need this part here because we've already written it many times. We're just saying if the result is equals to true, then have this success message and redirect the user to this location. Else, if it is not successful, have this message of fail, redirect the user to this specific location. So that's what I'm grabbing, and I'm going to come here and paste it there. I just need to change a few things, because now here, instead of going to the patient, we need to go to the supplier. And so I'm grabbing that and having it changed over here. Oh, sorry. Let me just type it. Yeah. So something like that. Oh, sorry. We still need to change the text, because I think it is. Oh yeah, it's okay. Success. And I just. Oh yeah. We can have the message as I'm just trying to see, because we'll be having several information there. Status. Status success. Yeah, you can have any message. I mean, you can give it any name, as long as that's what you're going to that's what you're going to like echo. So here maybe I can talk of fail, and here maybe I can talk of failed to update. Maybe here I can talk of updated successfully. Okay, so let's see if that is going to work for us. So we're going to come back here. Let me just refresh that. So enter. Let's try to deactivate this. So deactivate, and we have an issue. Unquote MySQL, you have an error. Line 19. So let's see MySQLI query. Let's see. Because the error is not specific on what is the issue, where ID is equals to 2. Yeah, let's see if we are able to get the ID. So let me try to echo. In fact, this one now should not be there, but we can have it here. And let me see. Yeah, so here we need to change that to, let's see if we're able to get the ID. Yeah, we're able to get the ID, but I don't know why we are unable to update the supplier number 2. Okay. Yeah, that's working fine. Yeah, so let's see suppliers. The table is suppliers, the name is status. Yeah. Oh, sorry, we have semicolon here that is causing all the havoc. So let's see now if we refresh that and deactivate. Yes, so that should have worked, but I think the redirection is a bit off. So yeah, we've been taken to, we don't have supplier, but it should be suppliers. That's the page that we have, not supplier. So if we get back, you're going to see that indeed the user was deactivated. It's inactive. Let's activate. Still not suppliers. Let's see, suppliers. Oh yeah, we are still on the same page, so we don't need to get out of the page. So that one, get rid of that one. Yeah, so now we should be good to go. So let's press enter, deactivate. So as you can see now, we are able to, by just a click of a button, activate and deactivate, and you can see how the buttons are changing, and you can see all of them are active. We can deactivate. Yeah, we can deactivate all of them like that, and we can also be able to activate. Yeah, so like that. So that's working fine. And so now, without so much ado, we're just going to go ahead to, before we continue, let's style this a little bit. We want this line to continue over here, so we will need to do what? We'll need to style the TD. So just a minute as we style the TD over there. So the TD, this one that we have here, let's just grab this class, the class that we have for our TD, and we have it here. Yeah, that will have the TD styled. Yeah, so something like that. So this is part of the form. So we now need again another TD. This one will be for the updating. Let's see, changing the name, changing the contact, changing all that. So I'm going to just below this, I'm going to have another TD. TD. This one will be, you can call it edit or update, and I'm going to have it with a class. Yeah, so let's see, we have it there. So there you go, the edit. I don't know whether I should have it with some color. I think the colors will be too much. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should have these having the, okay, let's just have them like that. It's not about styling here, it's about, yeah, this PHP working. So now we need to make these edits to be in an anchor button. So I'm going to have it within an anchor tag, and we'll have the edit, and this one will be taking us to another form, or will be taking us to a form or to another page that will have a form. So well, before we continue, we'll need to have that specific page. So the page that we'll be using, of course, as I said in the beginning, we'll be using the forms component, or the form component. So I'm going to look for one like this one here. So I'm going to just edit this because we've done it with the patients, and so this is the same thing that we're going to do with the suppliers. So I'm going to create yet another page here that is within the pages. Within the pages, I'm going to create another page. I'm going to call it update suppliers.php, and here I'm going to have this code, and so I'm just going to change just a few things here just to make our work easier. So this one, anything that says patient, we should be replacing that with supplier. So I'm going to in fact grab that so that now my work will be very easy. Yes, so anything that talks about patients, we replace it with suppliers. We're also going to change this so like that. Oops. Let's get rid of this like that. So we have the suppliers. This will be the PHP. We'll be coming back to it, but let's first of all ensure that everything here is changed to supplier, including the button here, supplier. So we are done. All the suppliers, all the patients have been replaced with the word supplier. That's working fine. And so just to make our work easier here, I'm just going to explain what we are going to do, or what I did. So let's go back. Let's start from the suppliers. So from the suppliers here, we need to have this edit button taking us to this update suppliers. So let me just do that right now. So suppliers.php, and we don't just want to go there, we also need to go with the ID of the specific supplier who we are editing. So to be able to do that, I'm going to put a question mark, and then I'm going to have a PHP. Sorry. Before we have the PHP, we need to come and say ID is equals to. So we are just like moving with a variable ID with the ID in it. So to be able to have the ID in it, we need to have the PHP where we are going to echo the ID. So the ID will be the ID that has been clicked. So to be able to make that possible, let's just try as we have it right now, before I talk about anything else. As you can see, that's below here. If I hover, just look at what we're going to have below here. So if I point at edit, you can see I have ID is equals to 1, ID is equals to 2, ID is equals to 3, ID is equals to 4. It therefore means that we're able to grab the ID of each and every user. And so we can be able to, using the ID, get the specific details for that supplier. And so now that that is working fine, Just noted that ID, I mean the text is a little bit small. Let me have it as small instead of extra small, which is extra small indeed there, but yeah, that's better. Yeah, so now that we have it like that, it therefore means that we can now be able to go to the update supplier. Now in the update supplier, at the very beginning here, let me get rid of this, we are having this PHP. So in this PHP, first of all, what we are requiring is the connection to the database. It might not be that important as of now, but what is important is this if statement. So this if statement is helping us to get the ID. So this ID is very, very important because it's the one that is going to help us to uniquely update a specific supplier and not every supplier that we have in the database. So just to test that out, if I echo ID and then I just try to click on edit, that will take us to, forget about all of this, it will take us to the update supplier .php, and as you can see we are having the ID as 1. That's very, very important. It means that we made a very great step. If I come to this just to test it out, that is ID number 3. So that's working very, very fine. And so now that that is working, it therefore means that we can be able now to change these details so that we only get the information of the supplier ID number 3. Okay, so we're going to go back to the PHP, and in the update suppliers, we're just going to scroll down to where we are pulling the information from the database. And why do I say that the ID is important? Because here we are having this form, which is this form that you can see here. Now in this form we are pulling the data from the database, as you can see, and we are getting that from the supplier table, where the ID is equals to the ID. So we are having the ID that we collected on top here. So this one here is the one that we are saying that we want to collect information whose ID is equals to the ID that we stored here. As you can see, it is changing from 1, 2, 3 like that. So therefore means that I can be able to, as I said earlier, collect the information of the supplier that I want. I just need to click on them. And so therefore I just need to change these things a little bit here, because this one was for the patient, but we're just reusing it just to save time. And so what do we need here? If I go to the supplier table, I see that we have the name, so we can have this as the name, location, and what else do we need over here? We don't change the status we are changing it in a different way. We need the email and the phone. So I'll duplicate these two. So this one will be the email, and we're going to have this being phone. So we're just storing the information in the variables so that we can be able to use it. So we cannot be able to use it like this, so we need to store it in a variable so we can be able to reuse it however we want. So we can hide. Okay, Okay, yeah, we can hide it like that. And so therefore means that now I can come here and have that as the name, yes, that one as the email, but we don't need that. Which one else should we get rid of? I think only that. So let's now go back to the browser here in the system and refresh, and so you can be able to get the details very well. But yeah, I know the table looks a bit awkward. Let me just connect to the internet here quite real quick. So I'm now refreshing here. The reason as to I needed to connect to the internet is because I'm using the Tailwind CDN, so which is only available via a network. So yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, so as you can see, that one now looks a bit nice. So we don't need this, so I can get rid of that. So that should be, yeah, that one should be this one. So I will grab that, get rid of that, grab these as well, get rid of it. Yeah, and good. So now that that is gone, as you can see over there, we now need to ensure that once the save button is clicked, the information is updated in the database here. So to make that possible, we need to have one more page. So we need to have one more page. And again, just to make our work easy, we're not going to type everything, but I'm just going to explain. So for example, in the includes, we have the update patients inc. So I need to grab this code. I'll be explaining every bit of it, so don't worry. So still in these includes, I'm going to have the update suppliers underscore inc. You can call it any name. So this one is the one that is going to contain the script that will help us to now update the records. Now that we have the individual records from the table, because now initially the information is in a table. To be able to edit any piece, we need to have it in a form individually. So that's why maybe I'm grabbing this one. I'm now having it with the individually within a form, and so now I need to edit it from here. So maybe I can change this one from James to James Doe, for example. And now when I click the save, this one should be working for me. So that's what I want to do right now. Let me just get rid of this, and also yeah, just that one. And I now need to, first of all, before I add anything, I now need to take you to this form. So this form, as you can see, it has the name update supplier underscore inc.php. You can remember last changing this. So this is this table here, and in fact this one, okay, we just have it with small s. You can have it in your own way. So this is the page where we want to take this information, all this information that we have collected in this form here. We want to take it in this page so that we can verify it, and then after verifying it, we can have it in the database. And so how it is going to get there is, of course, because of these post method, and for us to be able to execute that, we are going to use what? We are going to use this button that has the type of submit and the name of submit. So once this submit is clicked, and maybe just to make it make sense, I can have it as update. So once a person clicks on update, they are taken here. Right now it is empty, and that's why I need to have this information here. So let me explain it. So in fact, I'm just going to get rid of this, and I'm also going to get rid of, okay, not everything. I'm going to get rid of just that, yeah, and also that, because that's information that is not in the table suppliers, it was in the table patients. Okay, so what's happening here? So first of all, let me just get rid of that. So first of all, we are requiring the connection to the database, because we need to get to connect to the database that we are updating, and we are having a session starting here because we need to have that success message on our supplier table to tell the user whether the information was updated or not. And so now what we are doing is we are using the if statement to one, test to see whether the submit button was clicked, and that's why here we are having the echo I was clicked. So in that case, I was just testing to see whether the submit button was clicked. And so if the submit button was clicked, then I'm able to collect the information. So remember that in our form here, we are having all these details that we are collecting from the form being stored in these names here, and so through the post method here, we are able to have it being stored here, and so now I'm being able to have now the specific information or details being stored in the specific variables here. And so that way I can have the information in this specific form for the purpose of passing it to the database. So now now that I have all the information that I've collected from the form stored in these variables, I can now come down here and create an update statement that is not going to update the patients but suppliers, because that's the name of the table that contains the suppliers details. And now I'm setting the column names to the information. So remember, the information is stored in this variable, and so now we are having that name changed. So basically the name that we are referring to here is this name. So this is the name that we are referring to, and so we'll be editing the specific record. So the name that we collected from the form, so this name is going to be stored here, and we are now saying that it should now be passed to the table that we are having here. So if this one was Jim Doe but we have changed it to James Doe, we should now have that changed by just saying set the new name to that specific name over there. So we therefore don't need this semicolon here, because in the last variable here it should not have any comma. It should not have any comma. So the date of birth will be updated to that, the phone will be updated to that, the location will be updated to that, and most importantly, it is where the ID is equals to this ID that we collected here. So we therefore need to make sure that when we are updating here, we have an input, as you can see here, that is helping us to grab the ID. So because if you don't grab the ID, it's going to update everything that you have in the table with the information that you have. So for example, if you say James at Gmail, blah, 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 all of these, if you don't say where the ID is equals to that specific ID of the user who you are updating or supplier who you are updating, it therefore means it is going to change all of them. So to make sure that you're only changing the specific one, you need to get the ID, that specific ID. So that's why here we are saying where the ID is equals to the ID that we have collected on top there. And so now that because it is updated, it therefore means that we can be able to get the results. So we are creating a variable called results. So we are setting it to be equal to MySQLi query. As usual, here we are testing the connection to the database, as we have been saying, and we are also testing whether this one worked properly, so which results were stored here. So we are now having it here to see if it is working. So if it is working, of course we are redirecting the user, and the user should be redirected to the suppliers and not the patients. So suppliers, like that. And so we're just having the failed and the success messages, and as of course we are having it with a global variable session, and so that will make sure that we are able to get that message in another page, that is the suppliers. So we are now good to go to test if that is working. And so I'm just going to do it once again. So we are updating the James, should be James. So we just click on edit, give it a minute, it is here. We change it to James and we click on update. Okay, so yeah, this one should be update suppliers. We are having a loose connection there. So this one, if it gets to the update here, it should be going to the suppliers. As you can see here, it is suppliers and not supplier. Okay, let's give it another try. Update. Oh, sorry, we are so quick we forgot to refresh that. Yeah, so this one should be James update. Okay, so it's talking about date of birth. We don't have date of birth here, but we are having it here, so that's why we are having an issue. So this one we are having let's see the columns again: name, location, email, phone. Name, location, email, phone. Name, location. Oh yeah, let's change this to email. And so because we don't have the date of birth for the supplier, let's just get rid of it. Okay, so let me refresh that again, and now we say James and dates, and as you can see, that worked successfully. We have the James updated there, and so the only thing that we are not able to get here is the success message. We'll be having that as the last thing that we're going to do in this specific episode. So the last one that we're going to have here is the delete. And just to make our work easier, we're just going to do like we have done with the update. So back to the suppliers page, and the last column we are going to add here is the delete. So I will grab this, duplicate it, and this one will be delete. Okay, so we will still have the same, but for now let me just show you. If I go to the one that we've created previously, in the includes we have delete patients. So I'm just going to grab this again, and then I'll be explaining it real quick so that we can move a bit faster. So I'm going to remove that. So this one will be, instead of update, it will be delete suppliers. So we need to create that page. So that page we are creating it in the includes. So in the includes we say delete suppliers .php. So it's currently an empty page, but if we now refresh this and we point at the delete, we're able to get the specific ID, which is very, very important, because as you can see we are echoing it here. And so therefore means that if we now go to delete, let me just hide this, paste that there. So here, instead of post, I'm going to talk about get, because I'm getting the ID through the URL, through the address. And so let me see if I say get, and here I'm going to talk about echo. Let me see if I'm able to get the ID. I'm also going to first of all comment this out. I'll get rid of it like that. Just want to test something here. So just to see, just refresh, and I say delete. Oh, sorry. This one should go to. This one should go direct to includes here. It's in the folder includes. Yeah. So let's refresh that and delete. Yeah, we're able to get that ID. That's what we need. That one good. So it's working fine. As you can see, we're able to get the two. So with that, I can even now have the code back. Yeah, like that. So with the delete, it's a bit simple. It's not like the update, because as you can see in the SQL statement, we're just saying delete from patients. That's it. So in our case, instead of patients, we'll say supplier. So we're saying that delete the record from the supplier table where the ID is, the ID that we have collected. As you can see, we were able to get that ID. So we are deleting only the supplier whose ID is what we have collected. And that's it. So we now want to get the success messages and all that. And so Just to avoid confusion in future here, let me just have these as supplier deleted, and here we can talk of supplier delete failed. So that's to avoid confusion, because we can use these names somewhere else, and when it is clicked it affects the messages, so we don't want to confuse the user. So now that's all that we need. Also we need to change to redirect the user to suppliers. Yeah, suppliers, and that's fine. So if I refresh, and then I say, for example, this James Doe that we've been working with, I try to delete, so delete, and that's deleted. It's as easy as that. It's as easy as that. So we also have another one that we can delete. That's deleted. So now we want to have the success message, so that it's not just happening and you're not sure whether it was deleted or not. So for us to have a success message, we are going to have that here. Yeah, so we will just be changing this. We collected this, remember this is from the patient, so we just rename this so that instead of update is talking about maybe the specific messages that we've created. So for example, the supplier deleted. So if I can grab that, I can just come and replace it with this one. So remember, what we are just doing here is we are saying if the session named this was created, then we want to echo it here. So in fact, we are also going to change this to that, and this one will just unset, so that when a person refreshes, the message disappears. So if the message or if the record is deleted successfully, a session will be created with this name, and that's what we are echoing here. If it was not, then it is going to be this, and so we want to echo this one. So I'm going to have it here. So have it there, have it there, have it there, delete, have it with that. So now that we have that, let me see, the session is well started on top here, so we are good to go. So I can now refresh that, and I'll try to delete one of the users or suppliers who is inactive here. Oh, sorry, because the session was already created, no wonder we are having that. But let's delete. Yeah, and you can see that was deleted, and when we refresh, as you would expect, the message disappears. Yeah, so the same should happen with edit. So if I can just delete that in the suppliers, just a minute, I get to that specific location, should be here, around here. We're going to have a lot of these here because we need a lot of messages. So I'm going to grab that and duplicate it. So I'm going to have one for the change of status, and I'm going to have one for the editing. So I'm going to start with the status. The status is here. Yeah, so I'm going to grab that and I'm going to have it in one of the ones that I have duplicated, so that is 2, so I should replace this one. So hold alt and Control delete, paste it, hold alt, select, Control delete, Control V. We need to change these to status fail, because that's the name that we've given to that session. When the status is not updated successfully, we get the fail. And now finally we have the one for editing. So what name did we give to that? Sorry, let me change this to supplier. So like that. And now as usual we come here. So instead of this one, hold alt, select, Control delete, Control V, select alt, Control delete, paste. And this one, the name is supplier update failed, so we should add failed. Let me confirm the supplier update failed, so it's okay. So if we refresh here, we might get the message because it was already set. Let me see. We don't get it because we get it because it was already set. So let's try to activate. We are not getting that for the status. Maybe because we are having it in this specific form, no, that it's not working. But let's try editing, see if the one for edit is working. Maybe we have this as DC, the capital. Maybe we say, the phone number was 190, then we update. Success. That's working fine. So the only one that is not working is this one, but still we have it here, so we're able to see that happened successfully. So so that's how you can be able to modify or manage records. In this case we are working with supplier records. Hope the video was helpful. You were able to learn some skills on how you can be able to work with PHP to manage data. So without so much ado, let's just end that video at that point. I know it's quite long, and so we meet in episode 6 of how to create a pharmacy management system. If you're watching up until this part, thanks very much. See you in the next one.